a warm personal friend of mine and my family. And I feel a personal loss at his moving to Alexandria. More than that, I never thought that my friend would ever join the Washington crowd.
My friends, there was dancing here in the streets of Huntsville when our first satellite orbited the Earth. And there was dancing again when the first Americans landed on the moon. I'd like to ask you, don't hang up your dancing slippers. We all realize that the first lunar landing will be a hard act to follow. There's only one moon, and I'm afraid we can't offer many more spectaculars like that in the years to come. The interest and the attention of the space program will now be turned to put all that new capability to use for Earth-related applications, for the benefit of man, for the benefit of the taxpayer and his less favorite brother in underdeveloped and hungry countries. That is what I will pay my attention to in the years to come in Washington. And I would like to finish up with a very fitting word once spoken by Osa Johnson, where he said, if you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. Just put the foundations under them.
He will spend the next 5 years of his life in Washington, D.C. at Fairchild Industries. He focuses attention on the peaceful uses of communications satellites.
Space has been identified by too many people with just sensational things like flights to the moon, or a Skylab inhabited by 3 people for 84 days, but very few details have come out about the scientific payoff and the direct benefits to man. There's also this erroneous belief that all the money that goes into space today really comes out of the taxpayer's pocket. An international communication satellite system exists today involving 91 nations, which lives completely on its own revenue. We have 2 satellites in orbit, for instance, at the moment that are called Earth satellites, Earth Resources Technology satellites. And they survey every spot on Earth every 9 days in multi-spectral light, which means in several portions of the spectrum. Now, many nations on Earth are to this very day subscribers to a service which sends them images of what goes on in their own lands. And much oil has already been found. Mineral deposits have been detected in these images. I think this may be a sign of the maturity, or at least the maturing process of the space age. The gee whiz has gone out, but the payoff has come in. Our satellite is presently over India, sending an educational television program into 5,000 Indian villages where illiterate children are taught to read and write, and where farmers are taught how to improve their farming techniques or techniques of animal husbandry, where at the same time family planning programs are disseminated. All these programs, by the way, have been prepared by Indian authorities, so we only provide the relay service. But it is the only way to reach the hinterland. The typical little schoolhouse in such an Indian village, consisting of a chicken wire antenna about 6 feet in diameter and a black and white television receiver, is about $800. So that puts a little schoolhouse into a village. When you consider that of the 560 million people that India has, over 80% live in more than 500,000 villages, of which only a tiny percentage has teachers.
To help these people and others understand the potential benefits of space exploration, Wernher von Braun becomes the first president of the National Space Institute.
Maybe I should first say a word about what the National Space Institute really is and how it came into being. Its founding fathers felt, and I strongly shared this feeling, that far too few people in America and in the world are really aware of the fact of what the space program has done for them already and what its potential is for the future.
But how do you answer somebody like Jacques Ellul, or there are others, thoughtful people, intelligent people, who say that technology may breed more problems than it solves? Do you have an answer to that, or what is your attitude to it?
Well, I will not deny that most technologies have bred a great deal of problems. It started with the early industrial age in England, you know. Just when you look back at these pictures of belching chimneys, you know, and child labor and so forth, you really wondered whether industrialism was such a great thing. But I think when you look at the record, you will also see that it was technology and science that straightened out the very weak things, that the seedy things that technology and science had created.
You've commented before on whether if something is possible, it is automatically permissible. And I would like to hear you address yourself to that again.
Well, my position is it does not at all follow that anything that is possible is also permissible, because nowadays many things are possible for science that are indeed of a very dubious nature. And we have to make choices. There's no question about it. But to make the right choices is sometimes an awfully difficult thing. Let me quote from a well-known example from antiquity to make my point. You know, there was this guy Prometheus who brought man the fire. And in so doing, he defied a specific order given to him by Zeus not to do it. Now, I think had Prometheus not defied Zeus, we would still be shivering in the caves.
And eating raw meat.
And eating raw meat. Now, if you translate this situation in our modern world, Zeus may have convened for example, an environmental impact committee, asking them to find out for him first what the effects of bringing the fire to man would be. And it doesn't take much imagination to see that this appraisal of that impact committee would have been absolutely disastrous. They would have said man will abuse fire for the war, to destroy houses, to burn forests down, to all sorts of gory things, and the net result would have been absolutely no. And yet look where we would have been, you know, had Prometheus not gone ahead. Now today we are confronted with very similar questions. We are talking about breeder reactors. We are talking about thermonuclear fusion. We are talking about genetic engineering. You know, are we permitted to tamper with the famous double helix that carries the genetic information through the ages and assures the constancy of the species? These are all very, very difficult questions to answer. You can always convene committees and see if man starts tampering with these things, you know, only terrible things can happen. Now, unfortunately, the same story has another angle. For example, mankind is, no matter what we do, multiplying by leaps and bounds, and we have to find more food. We have to find more energy. So maybe thermonuclear power is something that we very badly need. Maybe breeder reactors is something that we will not be able to do without, because otherwise we may run out of uranium one fine day. We will undoubtedly run out of oil much faster than most people realize. And it could very well be that genetic engineering